What if I told you that a piece of paper found in a forgotten house could turn a homeless man into a billionaire overnight? But here's the twist. It wasn't a lottery ticket, it wasn't a treasure map, and what was written on it would make you question everything you thought you knew about success. So stay with me, because this story will blow your mind. And by the end, you'll understand why sometimes the most valuable things are hidden in the places no one dares to look. His name was Marcus Webb, 37 years old, living in his car in the outskirts of Detroit with only $17 in his pocket and a past he desperately wanted to forget. He had lost everything, his family, his job as an architect, his dignity, all because of one mistake that haunted him every single night. On a freezing November morning, with nowhere to go and hunger tearing at his stomach, Marcus noticed an old Victorian house at the end of a street he'd never explored before. The windows were shattered, the paint was peeling, and a sign that read, "Condemned, do not enter," hung loosely on the rusted gate. But something about that house called to him. Maybe it was desperation, maybe it was fate, or maybe it was something far more sinister that was about to unfold. Marcus pushed through the rotting door and stepped inside. The smell of mold and decay filled his lungs. Broken furniture lay scattered across the floors, and the walls were covered in graffiti and water stains. He was just looking for a place to sleep, somewhere dry, somewhere the cold couldn't reach him. But as he climbed the creaking stairs to the second floor, he heard it. A whisper, so faint he thought he'd imagined it. But it was there, calling his name. Marcus. He froze, his heart pounding in his chest. There was no one else in the house, he was sure of it. But the voice came again, softer this time, almost gentle, and it seemed to be coming from behind a door at the end of the hallway. With trembling hands, Marcus opened the door and found himself in what used to be a study. Dust-covered books lined the shelves, a desk sat in the corner, and on that desk, illuminated by a single beam of sunlight breaking through the boarded window, was a yellowed piece of paper. Marcus approached slowly, his breath visible in the cold air. He picked up the paper, and his eyes widened as he read the words written in elegant, old-fashioned handwriting. "To the one who finds this, you have been chosen. The formula below will change your life, but beware. Great power comes with a price you may not be willing to pay." Signed, Jonathan Ashford, 1952. Below the message was a series of complex chemical equations, numbers and symbols that Marcus, with his background in engineering and design, couldn't fully comprehend. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just some random scribbles. This was something real, something valuable, something that someone had hidden intentionally. But here's where it gets crazy. As Marcus folded the paper and put it in his jacket pocket, the temperature in the room dropped so dramatically that he could see ice forming on the windows. The whisper returned, but this time it wasn't gentle. It was angry, demanding, "You cannot take what isn't yours." Marcus ran. He bolted down the stairs, through the hallway, and out of that house faster than he'd ever moved in his life. His heart felt like it would explode, but he didn't stop running until he was 6 blocks away, gasping for air, clutching the paper like his life depended on it. The next morning, Marcus did something he never thought he'd do. He walked into the Detroit Public Library, sat down at a computer, and started researching Jonathan Ashford. What he found changed everything. Jonathan Ashford was a brilliant chemist who had worked for a major pharmaceutical company in the 1950s. He had been on the verge of creating a revolutionary drug, something that could cure a disease that had killed millions. But 1 week before he could patent his discovery, Jonathan disappeared. His house was abandoned. His research was never found, and the company went on to become one of the wealthiest corporations in America without ever crediting him. Marcus realized what he was holding. This paper contained the original formula, the one that had been stolen, the one that had made billions for a company that never rightfully owned it. But here's the problem. If Marcus tried to claim this discovery, he'd be going up against one of the most powerful corporations in the world. They had armies of lawyers, connections to politicians, and a reputation to protect. they would destroy him. For 3 days, Marcus lived in fear. He didn't know what to do. He slept in different locations every night, constantly looking over his shoulder, paranoid that someone was following him. And then it happened, a black sedan started appearing wherever he went, parked across the street. When he visited the library, idling outside the shelter where he ate, watching him, always watching him. Marcus knew he had to act fast. He reached out to a journalist named Sarah Chen, a woman known for exposing corporate corruption. He told her everything, showed her the paper, explained the history of Jonathan Ashford, and Sarah's eyes lit up with the fire of someone who had just stumbled onto the story of a lifetime. She promised to help him, but she warned him, "Marcus, if we do this, there's no going back. They will come after you with everything they have. Are you ready for that?" Marcus looked at the paper, thought about Jonathan Ashford, a man whose life's work had been stolen, whose name had been erased from history, and he thought about himself, a man who had nothing left to lose, and he said, "Let's do it." Sarah published the story, and within 48 hours, the world exploded. The article went viral. Major news outlets picked it up. Protesters gathered outside the pharmaceutical company's headquarters, demanding answers, demanding justice. The company's stock plummeted. Executives resigned, and investigations were launched by federal agencies. But the corporation fought back. They claimed the paper was a forgery, that Marcus was a con artist trying to extort them. They dug into his past, exposed his mistakes, his failures, his darkest moments, and plastered them across every media platform. They painted him as a desperate homeless man who would do anything for money. And for a moment, it seemed like they would win. Public opinion started to shift. People began to doubt Marcus. Even Sarah started receiving threats, pressure from her editors to retract the story. Then came the breakthrough that no one saw coming. A retired employee of the pharmaceutical company, an 82-year-old woman named Dorothy Mills, came forward with a box of documents she had kept hidden in her attic for over 50 years. Inside that box were letters, memos, and photographs proving that the company had indeed stolen Jonathan Ashford's research, that they had paid off officials to cover it up, and that Jonathan hadn't disappeared. He had been silenced, threatened into hiding, forced to abandon his life's work or face consequences that would destroy him and his family. The evidence was undeniable. The company's defense crumbled. Lawsuits were filed, settlements were reached, and Marcus, the homeless man who had found a piece of paper in an abandoned house, was awarded a settlement of $3.7 billion, the largest individual whistleblower payout in history. But here's the real twist. Marcus didn't keep the money. He used it to create the Ashford Foundation, an organization dedicated to helping forgotten inventors, silenced scientists, and people whose ideas had been stolen by powerful corporations. He built housing for the homeless, funded education programs, and made sure that Jonathan Ashford's name was finally recognized in the halls of science where it always belonged. Marcus had gone from living in his car to changing the world, not because he wanted to be rich, but because he understood what it meant to be invisible, to be forgotten, to have your story erased. The abandoned house where Marcus found the paper, it still stands today. But now it's a museum, a place where people come to remember that sometimes the most important discoveries are not made in laboratories or boardrooms. They're made in the ruins of forgotten places by people who refuse to give up. And that whisper Marcus heard, the one that called his name, some say it was Jonathan Ashford's spirit, guiding him to the truth. Others say it was just the wind. But Marcus knows better. He knows that some things are meant to be found, and some people are meant to find them. So if this story moved you, if it made you believe that even in your darkest moment, something incredible is waiting to be discovered, then hit that like button. Right now, subscribe to this channel because we bring you true stories that will change the way you see the world. And share this video with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late for their life to change. Because just like Marcus, your breakthrough might be hiding in the most unexpected place. And remember, fortune favors the bold. So stay curious, stay hungry, and never stop searching for your own piece of paper that will change everything.